offer a hungry crowd two things: bread or the freedom to decide for themselves whether and how they eat. And history has already told you which one wins, almost every time. And this isn't cynicism. It's one of the oldest and most uncomfortable observations in all of Western literature. And it cuts directly against everything we like to believe about ourselves. We say, loudly and sincerely, that we want freedom. We build monuments to it. We claim we'd die for it. And then, handed the actual thing, most of us quietly hand it back at the first chance and ask for comfort instead. The strange part, the part worth sitting with, is how rarely we catch ourselves doing it. The trade happens below awareness. We don't feel it as cowardice or surrender. We feel it as being sensible, as growing up, as accepting how the world really works. Watch how it actually plays out. The young person full of fire, certain they'll never sell out, never settle, never disappear into a routine. And then, 10 years later, comfortably inside the exact life they swore they'd refuse, and unable to say precisely when the swap happened. Freedom was on offer the whole time. The door was never locked. But freedom is heavy, and comfort is warm. And the masses, which is to say, most of us, most of the time, will pick warmth over weight. The question worth asking isn't whether this is true. It plainly is. The question is why. So let me back up, because there's this story. In his novel, The Brothers Karamazov, the Russian writer Fyodor Dostoevsky buried one of the most piercing answers ever written. It's a story within the story, and it's called The Grand Inquisitor. Here's how it goes. Christ comes quietly back to earth during the Spanish Inquisition. He gets recognized, and he gets arrested, not by enemies, by the church that claims to act in his name. That night, the old Grand Inquisitor visits his cell and delivers this long, extraordinary speech explaining why Christ can't be allowed to return. And the reason isn't hatred. The reason is freedom. Christ, the Inquisitor argues, made one catastrophic mistake. He offered humanity true freedom, the freedom to choose good or evil for themselves, with no guarantees, no proofs, no one to carry the burden of deciding for them. But men, the Inquisitor says, are weak. The vast majority can't bear that freedom. It terrifies them. And so they'll trade it away, trade it for bread, for miracle, for mystery, for someone strong enough to tell them what to do and take the responsibility off their hands. And the Inquisitor's claim is devastating precisely because it comes from a place of grim compassion. He doesn't hate the masses. He pities them. He's taken their unbearable freedom from them, he says, out of love, because in exchange, he can give them what they actually want: security, certainty, and the deep relief of no longer having to choose. Dostoevsky wasn't writing a political pamphlet. He was diagnosing something permanent in human psychology, something later thinkers kept rediscovering under new names. Erich Fromm would call it the escape from freedom. The existentialists would call it bad faith. But Dostoevsky had already drawn its portrait, complete, in the figure of an old man explaining, with terrible gentleness, why people can't be trusted with the very thing they claim to want most. And what gives the parable its lasting power is that Dostoevsky refuses to make the Inquisitor a simple villain. The old man is intelligent, articulate, and within his own frame, genuinely loving. He's looked at humanity clearly, decided most people can't bear freedom, and chosen to carry its weight for them so they can live in peace. That's the seduction. The case for taking your freedom is almost never made by an obvious tyrant. It's made by someone who seems to have your well-being at heart, and who may even believe that they do. So take the Inquisitor's logic seriously. Don't dismiss it, because there's something true in it, and the only way to escape a trap is first to understand exactly how it holds you. Real freedom, genuine freedom, means no one else is responsible for your outcome. There's no fate to blame, no system to resent, no leader whose orders you were merely following, no guru whose advice you can point to when it all goes wrong. The full weight of your life rests on your own choices, and the consequences, success or ruin, meaning or emptiness, are yours alone to carry. That's an enormous weight, and almost no one is trained to bear it. We're raised inside structures that decide for us. School bells, curricula, expectations, paths laid out in advance. We arrive at adulthood having rarely, if ever, practiced the terrifying act of choosing with nothing underneath us. So when genuine freedom shows up, it doesn't feel like liberation. It feels like vertigo, like standing at the edge of something with no railing. And so, instinctively, we build smaller versions of the Inquisitor's bargain. We trade the open, undetermined life for the comfort of a script, a career path someone else designed that we step into without ever asking whether it's ours, a belief system that answers every question in advance, so the exhausting work of figuring things out for ourselves is permanently outsourced. A set of routines, onions, and loyalties handed to us ready-made, asking only that we wear them. None of these is evil. Most are perfectly ordinary, even respectable. But each one is a small version of the great exchange, a piece of freedom traded for a piece of comfort, with the trade carefully disguised so we never have to admit we made it. And here's the crucial thing about the disguise. Comfort always shows up wearing the mask of wisdom. We don't say to ourselves, I'm afraid of freedom, so I'll give it up. We say, I'm being realistic. We don't say, I've outsourced my judgment because thinking for myself is scary. We say, I trust the experts, or I have faith, or this is just how things are done. The Inquisitor never has to force anyone. He only has to make the surrender sound mature. This is why mass movements, comfortable routines, and total ideologies never run short of volunteers. They're not selling oppression. Oppression is a hard sell. They're selling relief. Relief from the vertigo, relief from the blank page, relief from the unbearable responsibility of an undetermined life, and relief, packaged as belonging or faith or common sense, is the easiest product in the world to move. Dostoevsky's most unsettling suggestion is that the Inquisitor might be right about most people, that the majority genuinely can't or won't bear true freedom, and that those who take it from them really are giving them what they want. The novel doesn't flinch from this. It simply asks whether you intend to be one of the many who accept the bread or one of the few who refuse it, knowing the cost. And there's a particular flavor to the moment the trade gets made. Most people have felt it without naming it. It's the moment you stop asking whether the path you're on is truly yours, because asking has become too costly. Because the path now contains your income, your relationships, your sense of who you are. And to question it would be to risk all of that at once. So you stop questioning. You call it commitment. And the questioning muscle, unused, slowly goes still. This is how the trade becomes permanent, not through a single decision, but through the gradual disappearance of the very capacity to revisit it. And notice too, that the comfort the masses choose isn't always physical ease. Often it's the comfort of certainty, the relief of being sure, of belonging to the side that's obviously right, of never again having to sit in the discomfort of not knowing. This is why people will accept enormous physical hardship in the name of a cause while fleeing in terror from a single genuinely open question. The freedom they're escaping isn't the freedom to be comfortable. It's the freedom to be uncertain and responsible and alone with the choice no one else will make for them. And the masses aren't stupid for making this trade. That's the hardest part to accept. The trade is, in a narrow sense, rational. Freedom really is heavy, responsibility really is frightening, and comfort really does soothe. Dostoevsky's genius was to refuse the easy contempt. The Inquisitor isn't describing fools. He's describing nearly all of us on nearly every ordinary day, choosing the warm and the certain over the open and the free. And he's daring you to notice that the description fits you too. So what do? Dostoevsky offers no easy answer, and you should distrust anyone who claims he does. But he leaves a single, bright crack in the darkness of the Inquisitor's logic. At the end of the old man's long speech, Christ, who said nothing this entire time, doesn't argue. He doesn't defend himself. He simply stands up and kisses the old man on his bloodless lips and walks back out into the dark. He refuses, even in silence, even at the cost of his own freedom, to take the bread that was offered in place of it. That silent refusal is the whole prescription, not a counter-argument, a choice. The Inquisitor's case can't be beaten by logic, because within its own terms it's largely correct. It can only be refused by an individual who decides, for no guaranteed reward, to carry the weight of their own freedom rather than trade it away. So here's what that asks of you, concretely. Next time comfort is offered to you dressed as wisdom, the easy belief that saves you from thinking, the script you didn't write but could just step into, the certainty that asks only for your surrender, notice the offer for what it is before you accept it. You don't have to refuse every comfort. That'd be a kind of madness. And Dostoevsky was no ascetic. Much of life rightly runs on shared paths and inherited wisdom, and there's no shame in that. The point is narrower, and it's this. At least know when you're choosing comfort over freedom. Instead of letting the trade happen in the dark and calling the result your life. Because the masses don't consciously choose the cage, they drift into it, one disguised surrender at a time, and wake up decades later wondering where the fire went. The single thing that separates the free individual from the comfortable mass isn't courage in some grand dramatic sense. It's awareness. The refusal to let the great exchange happen without your knowledge. The bread will always be offered. It'll always look like wisdom, like safety, like home. Your only task is to see it clearly. And then, knowing exactly what you're doing, decide for yourself whether to take it. That decision, made in full awareness, is the freedom the Inquisitor swore you couldn't bear. Prove him wrong.